spike in workplace clusters worrying. Appeals for blood donors in midst of pandemic. Good afternoon, I'm Jessica Lee. Welcome to Updates at Noon. Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah has expressed concern over the recent spike in the number of COVID-19 clusters involving workplaces. Now, he said from the 6th of January until yesterday, a total of 350 new clusters were reported and 225 or 64.3% out of them were linked to workplaces. In the release statement, Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham said manufacturing-related clusters recorded the highest number of clusters with 80 clusters, followed by construction-related clusters with 53 clusters and service-related clusters with 31 clusters. During the same period, 112,225 people have been screened, of which 28,477 cases were confirmed COVID-19 positive from the clusters. Therefore, the Health DG urged all employers and their employees to work hand in hand in assisting the ministry to contain the COVID-19 transmission at workplaces by always adhering to the stipulated standard operating procedures, or SOPs. Employers are responsible to provide conducive residential areas for their employees and ensure that they always practice infection prevention measures. The Sultanah Noor Zahirah Hospital, or HSNZ Blood Bank Unit in Kuala Terengganu, is appealing to the public to come forward to donate blood, as the hospital currently has sufficient supply to only last for another 7 days. Now, HSNZ Transfusion Service physician Dr. Muhammad Muhaimin Kambali said the blood donation trend in the state has shown a decrease in supply since last week, with only 150 bags of blood obtained against the weekly requirement of 350 bags.
Bagi negeri Terengganu, bekalan darah sedia ada mencukupi untuk 7 hari. Namun kerana trend yang pendermaan yang menurun, kita khawatirlah kalau keadaan ini berterusan, mungkin kita bekalan darah kita akan berkurangan pada masa seminggu 2 minggu lagi. Jadi kita mengambil tindakan proaktif bagi memastikan kita tak nak bila bekalan darah kritikal baru kita nak bertindak So kita bertindak dari awal lagi.
Dr. Muhammad Muhaimin was met at the blood donation program at the Padang Hileran People's Housing Project, or PPR Hall in Kuala Terengganu. The National Blood Centre has received approval and permission from the National Security Council, MKN, to proceed with blood donation activities with strict adherence to the prescribed SOPs and to allow donors to travel to hospitals or health clinics for such a purpose. The Malaysian Maritime Enforcement Agency, MMEA, in Terengganu thwarted an attempt by 16 Vietnamese fishermen aboard 2 boats to encroach and fish in the state's waters. Terengganu MME Director Captain Muhammad Sufi Muhammad Ramli said personnel patrolling the area on board the KM Langkawi managed to detain the boats at 93 and 118 nautical miles northeast of Kuala Terengganu at about 4 p.m. on Friday. Checks conducted on the 2 boats found that 16 crew members, including the skippers aged 18 to 62, did not have any valid identification documents nor possess any license to fish in the country's waters. Muhammad Sufi said 2 boats, fishing gear, catch and diesel supply were also seized, with the total amount of seizure estimated at 3 million ringgit. He said all fishermen were taken for COVID-19 swab tests before being detained, with the case being investigated under the Fisheries Act 1985 and Immigration Act 1959-63. 18 illegal Indonesian immigrants were detained at Teluk Ramunia, Kota Tinggi, Johor, while attempting to enter the country illegally yesterday. Now, according to a statement from the Malaysian 3rd Infantry Division headquarters in the Terendak Camp, Malacca, all of them were detained in 3 raids at 2:15 a.m., 7 a.m. and 10:50 a.m. during Ops Penting. Now, a fast food restaurant worker died after the motorcycle he was riding rammed into a wild boar at kilometre 59 Jalan Ipoh, Kuala Lumpur at midnight yesterday. The victim, Muhammad Rasidi Samsudin, 35, died at the scene due to severe injuries. Tapa District Police Chief Superintendent Wan Azharuddin Wan Ismail said in the 12:05 a.m. incident, the victim, who had completed his shift at a R&R area, was on his way home to Bidor. In a statement today, he said on crashing into the animal, believed to be a wild boar, the victim's motorcycle skidded. He was confirmed dead by medical staff who arrived in an ambulance. The victim's body was taken to Tapa Hospital Forensic Unit for post-mortem, and the case is being investigated under Section 41, Subsection 1 of the Road Transport Act 1987. Now, a man who jumped into Sungai Sembrong in Kampung Sri Cahaya, Batu Lima near Kluang, while trying to escape from the police on Friday afternoon, was found drowned yesterday. Kluang District Police Chief ACP Loh Hang Sing said that the body of Muhammad Zaki Obid, 33, was found by the search and rescue team at about 5:15 p.m., about 150 meters from where he was reported to have drowned. In a release statement, he said efforts to locate the victim were resumed at 8:30 a.m. involving 10 firefighters, 6 policemen and 9 members of the Kluang Civil Defence Force, APM, after the operation was paused at 6 p.m. on Friday. He said that Muhammad Zaki's body was identified by his mother and then taken to Encik Besar Haja Kalsum Hospital in Kluang for post-mortem. According to Loh, Muhammad Zaki jumped into the river along with 4 others when personnel from the Narcotics Crime Investigation Division of the Kluang District Police Headquarters, or IPD, raided drug distribution and addiction activities around the area at about 4:30 p.m. on Friday. In the operation, police managed to arrest 2 men aged 39 and 41. Now, as a result of the interrogation of the 2, it was found that there were 7 people hiding under the bridge, with 5 of them jumping into the river. Now, all flood relief contributions coming from outside of Pahang during the Movement Control Order, or MCO, can only be delivered to the collection centres set up at Bentong, Rompin and Kuantan. Now, Menteri Besar Datuk Sri Wan Rosdi Wan Ismail said the decision was made at the State Security Special Committee, or JKKN, meeting, which also required those delivering the goods to get the interstate travel permit from the police and the approval via e-banjir.gov.my. In a release statement, the Menteri Besar also said the disaster relief distribution will be done by the State and District Operations Control Centres, or PKOB. However, volunteers and non-governmental organisations, or NGOs, from Pahang are still allowed to carry out post-flood gotong royong activities, provided that the number of participants is limited to between 10 to 15 people and they must fulfil all JKKN requirements. The federal government has imposed the MCO in Pahang effective Friday, and as this came 2 days after the state fully recovered from the floods, several parties have shown interest in helping to provide post-flood assistance. The Iskandar Puteri City Council, or MBIP Penyayang Foundation, has donated tablets with 4 months' worth of internet data to 367 students who will be sitting for the Sijil Pelajaran Malaysia and Sijil Tinggi Persekolahan Malaysia examinations. The aids have been distributed via 24 school principals in the areas in its jurisdiction. Its chairman, Muhammad Khairi A. Malik, said each school will be receiving 15 tablets with 4 months' worth of internet data until April. He said the foundation understood the difficulties faced by some students in attending online classes during the COVID-19 pandemic and hope the initiative would help them catch up with their studies and prepare for the examinations.
Jadi pada tahun ini kita akan melihat bagaimana keadaan COVID dan kalau sekolah ada keperluan untuk menambah bilangan yang sedia ada, maka kita di peringkat yayasan insya-Allah akan menimbang permohonan-permohonan yang akan dikemukakan oleh pihak sekolah.
A total of 200,000 ringgit has been allocated for this program. Public parks and beaches closed in Pasir Putih. The 5 parks and tourist attractions in Pasir Putih, Kelantan have been closed temporarily in a fight to break the COVID-19 infections chain in the state. It involves Pantai Bisikan Bayu, Pantai Tok Bali, Pantai Dalam Ru, Jeram Pasu and Jeram Menggaji. According to Pasir Putih Deputy District Chief Muhammad Kamaruzzaman Abdul Wahab, the closure of these areas were in line with the enforcement of the Movement Control Order MCO until the 4th of February.
Memang tidak boleh dibuka pusat peranginan dan notis-notis penutupan tu telah dibuat kalau yang macam premis yang kita tengok macam di Pasir Putih tadi pun Tok Aman Bali dan sebagainya tu telah dibuat notis sendiri dan juga pihak PBT pun telah meletakkan banner-banner pasal penutupan pusat-pusat peranginan di Pasir Putih lah.
Muhammad Kamaruzzaman was met after conducting an integrated patrol operation in recreational areas around Pasir Putih. The patrol was to monitor public's compliance with the SOPs to curb COVID-19. The National Security Council, MKN, has approved the chariot procession bearing the statue of Lord Murugan in conjunction with this year's Thaipusam celebration. Federal Territories Minister Tan Sri Anwar Musa said the chariot procession from the Jalan Banda Temple to Batu Caves will take place on the 27th of January and return on the 29th of January. In a Twitter post last night, the minister said the chariot procession must adhere to the conditions and standard operating procedures stipulated by the Kuala Lumpur City Hall or DBKL. Among the conditions are the chariot cannot make any stops, only 10 people are allowed to accompany the procession and no music is allowed. Thaipusam is observed by Hindus on the full moon day during the Tamil month of Thai in the Tamil calendar, which falls either in January or February each year. Now, the gross domestic product or GDP growth projection of 6.5 to 7.5% remains reasonable and achievable. Now, this follows the country's 5 main economic sectors that remain in operation despite the enforcement of the Movement Control Order MCO nationwide. The 5 sectors are manufacturing, plantation and commodities, construction, services, wholesale and small and medium enterprises or SMEs. Apart from this, the procurement of COVID-19 vaccines that is expected to be more than 2 million ringgit has given a positive signal to the economic development this year. The Finance Ministry's Chief Economist, Dr. Wan Farisan Wan Sulaiman, said the government has also given attention to sectors that can accelerate growth, such as services.
Yang mana sektor ini menyumbangkan sebanyak hampir 60% daripada keseluruhan ekonomi negara. Dan sektor ini diwujudkan untuk berkembang sebanyak 7% pada tahun 2021. Terutamanya antara sumbangan utama sektor ini adalah subsektor borong dan runcit. Iaitu terbesar menghampiri 30% daripada keseluruhan sektor perkhidmatan. Dan subsektor ini dijangka untuk berkembang sebanyak 8.5% pada tahun 2021.
As such, according to him, there is no need to revise the GDP's growth projection as it was still achievable. And that's it from us this afternoon. Our top story, spike in workplace clusters, worrying. Now, News at 10 comes on this evening on My Free Views Berita RTM News Channel. I'm Jessica Lee. Thank you for joining us.